All right, we're up. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the recap. I am Michael DeAngelo, joined as always by my partner in crime, Mr. Big D, Daryl Ortiz. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain. It's another eventful week of Raw and Smackdown, so plenty for us to talk about, I suppose, and we'll have to dive into a few things. How about yourself?
Living the dream. It was another eventful week. We're getting closer and closer to the Royal Rumble. I know it's your favorite event.
Yes,
It's one of my favorite
it
events
is.
as well. And Raw and SmackDown spent quite a bit of time just continuing the story threads that we've seen. I guess is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But we'll dive right into it. Speaking of, as we see the week that was in Raw and SmackDown, take us through the rundown, Big D, for Monday Night Raw.
Monday Night Raw, another eventful episode, of course. So we had Cody Rhodes coming out to do a promo, not only just to get interrupted by Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre interrupted Cody Rhodes there, gave his own little spiel about how they're the same. I feel like a copy paste of the Shinsuke story, but we'll talk about
Yeah.
that later. We had DIY defeat Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough. We had Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. Finally, The Way making their presence known, defeating Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. We had Xavier Woods taking on Ludwig Kaiser of Imperium after he interrupted the champ Gunther's little spiel about entering the Rumble. But of course, that ended by disqualification. We can also, there's a little more of a bloody side to Xavier Woods that I kind of liked. So we can talk about that here in a sec. Kira Tozawa taking on Ivar, ultimate mismatch of the century there, ends up with the victory by surprise, of course, because of interference.
Yeah.
Thanks to Maxine Dupree. We had Judgment Day of Finn Balor and Damian Priest taking on Miz and R-Truth, the Awesome Truth. That was a very fun, entertaining match, of course, thanks to R-Truth. But Judgment Day did come out on top. Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark defeating Tegan Nox and Natalia, probably moving them up the ranks as well for a title shot. And then with the main event of Seth Rollins versus Jinder Mahal to face off for the World Championship, which surprised me for sure, but was a Seth Rollins concern in that one just because of the fact that looks like Seth Rollins legitimately hurt his leg during the match, was seen visibly needing help to get into the backstage area. I did check some reports, and it looks like he was able to put some weight on it, so that's a good news for him. Make sure he'd be able to compete again, so he may not have to relinquish the title. But again, it's always tough to see. But yeah, the champ did get hurt in that match. But yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell what happened here on Raw. So as far as I'd say match of the night, it's kind of tough because none of the matches really popped as big for me as I felt like they could have. But I feel my favorite matches to watch, it was a three-way tie. It was honestly the Ludwig Kaiser and Xavier Woods match, simply because we saw a nice aggression to Xavier Woods that we hadn't seen before. He was kind of playing the "I'm gonna get you back for what you did" to my buddy, and so he did, right. And the what I liked about it, I'm a fan of storytelling, right? So he Ludwig Kaiser tries to throw that announcer chair, the same chair that he took Kofi Kingston out with, and Xavier Woods ducks it, but Xavier Woods gets DQ'd because he nails him with that chair and just goes
Yeah.
berserk. So I thought that was a nice little touch of storyline I enjoyed. Another match that I enjoyed was the Judgment Day versus the Awesome Truth, mainly because R-Truth just being amazing, even came out with Judgment Day, which was hilarious to see. And then the money falling out because he's selling so much merch and he's splitting it with all the members, trying to give it to Finn Balor. The hesitation to go up against his own team that he thinks he's a part of. And then the main event surprised me in a positive way. I felt like we didn't give Jinder enough chance to like really, push himself as a contender for the title. He just kind of came back and got it, but it was a nice match. There was a lot of near falls into sheer interfering, mock cash in with or a teased cash in with Damian Priest there, kind of scaring. And I honestly thought the match was going to end when Indashir hit Seth Rollins with the Money in the Bank briefcase. And then before you know it, now he's hitting the Colossus, and I was like, "Oh my God, he's gonna win the title," because I had heard before that they set up extra pyro for Raw that night, and I was like, oh my god, they're gonna have Jinder win, and then they're gonna have Damian Priest cash in on
Damian Priest
on him, so that way he doesn't have to beat Seth. He's gonna beat Jinder, but I guess that didn't happen. But it was a close call. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So going back to the Xavier Woods Kaiser one, that for me, the storytelling on that was it got a little strange with Kaiser because he's tried to turn into this crazy maniac where he was like, I'm going to take everyone's head. And then as soon as Xavier Woods pushed back, he was like, ugh.
Yeah.
And then he's running for the hills. And I was like, okay, so I guess that gimmick's done. Like you make him off as like a psychopath, but then Xavier Woods acts like a bigger psychopath, and then Kaiser backed off. So I thought that was a little strange. Yeah, I did like the segment. I liked the building on the, hey, we had this legitimate injury that happened with Vinci, and now we've built on I'm attacking Kofi Kingston, and they've made a story out of it. So I really enjoyed that one. Yeah. I'll talk about my match of the night because actually my match of the night was it was DIY versus Dominic and JD McDonough. I thought that was the most fun match of the night.
It was a good match,
but yeah, it was for me. DIY has quickly become my favorite tag team.
Oh, yeah. They're a great tag team.
One of my favorite tag teams. They're really great. They have incredible chemistry, and it's fun to see a tag team with that level of chemistry. And a name, so Chance and Carter, Katana, and Caden, get a name. Like, gotta have the matching ring gear and the name. So they got the ring gear down, get a name. Same thing in terms of tandem wrestling; they're really good. But DIY, they've done a great job. The one thing on that match that was my small gripe. Two things. One, there was a near fall. There was a near fall that was a fall. So I think if you remember when Dominic got power bombed.
Yeah,
he got power. They did like a double power bomb, and then JD was a little late getting to break it up, and so they counted 3, and then they just kept going, and then afterwards on commentary, Wade Barrett was trying to say, well, I think there was robbery because he was just trying to cover up the fact that when they showed it on the replay, you could easily see they counted him out, and so it was still have been a DIY victory. They just kept going. And then also this was supposed to be like the precursor for them to challenge Finn Balor and Damian Priest, right? It was like, hey, if you want a shot at the actual Universal Tag Champs, you got to go through them first. Yeah. And I felt like JD and Dominic gave them too much trouble because that was a long match, and there was like 2 commercial breaks.
Yeah,
and it went on a long, and I was like, should have it taken you guys that much time to put those 2 away? True. Probably not. But that's a small gripe. I thought it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Talking about the main event, though, because you'd mentioned this is one where I expected it to be a good match, obviously, because Jinder Mahal, as much as people have been ragging on him this week for why is he getting a title shot, Jinder's very good. He does heel work very well, and he's a good wrestler. He looks great. Yeah. So I kind of knew going in, I was like, there's no way that they're going to let him win. Like this is more of a novelty. There's and even those times when Damian Priest walked out, and this I had as one of my worst moments of the night was like failed attempt at a cash in number 3.
Yeah,
because now I'm like, ugh, like now you've turned this into like a running gag now, where Damian Priest just can't. Yeah. And he showed up this time with no backup. I was like, are you getting stupider as each week goes by? Because you showed up with like Dominic, and now you showed up with nobody. Well, like, bring the whole crew. And Indus Shear's there. Like, what are you doing?
Technically, he got stopped by Drew. So that one
he did
before
he
could even
went to
cash
ringside
in.
And he sat there with it.
Yeah,
but he sat at the ringside with the briefcase. Remember, was like thinking about it, and I was like, you were out there hanging out. Like everyone knew why you were there. And Drew was able to see, hey, this idiot's hanging out ringside. Let me go down there and intercept him.
Let me go stop him.
You could have had Finn Balor or JD. Somebody go intercept him. Yeah. So I was just like, ugh, like now you've sucked all the fun out of Money in the Bank winners because now it's become a running gag that this guy can't even get it going at this point. He's tried 3 times, and he's going to keep doing it.
I think it's unintentional though. I think that they're scared to pull the trigger. Them being creative, right? I'm Triple H. I think they're scared to pull the trigger because it's almost like right now they have kind of like that. I picture it as like that like when you're playing Jenga and you have all those pieces on like two little crosswood blocks and then everything else is on top. Like everything's balanced right now because you have us thinking on this side it's going to be Seth and CM Punk for the title, so CM Punk has to win the Rumble. But then you have Cody still needs to finish his story, so he might win the Rumble, but he'll be the one to take it off of Roman. But then The Rock might come in and do so. Like it's kind of like that. They're afraid to like tilt the scales because they don't know how it would go with the crowd, right? And it's kind of like one of those things where you just either got to decide or just move on from it, right? Either have him botch it, and just get it off of him so you don't have to worry about it, or don't tease it until you're ready to actually pull the trigger, and I think that's what needs to happen,
because that takes the excitement away. It
does
when they do it this much. It
like when he came out, I was kind of like, okay, maybe he might, because I thought if anyone's gonna, because I heard about the extra pyro being put up and I was like, well, it would make sense to have him pin Jinder for the title than it would Seth.
It would,
because then you can't lose. You give him the championship, but you don't discredit Seth. That Seth can't compete up there with CM Punk and like the others, because that's how they have it built in this hierarchy. Unfortunately, and I like Damian Priest. I really do. I like Damian Priest. Unfortunately, on the totem pole, he's a few notches below Seth, CM Punk, and them. So that's why I think they're afraid to pull the trigger, because they're like, crap, if we do, how is this going to go over, right? How are people going to react to him beating Seth? And I guess that's where maybe they didn't think about it all the way through. Maybe they had a storyline until CM Punk came back and until The Rock said he'll come back. And now they're like, oh, crap, now what do we do?
Well, I sure hope so. But it's funny because you talk about like they've got all these different threads. And that was the one thing that I noticed, too, when Drew came out and he interrupted Cody Rhodes at the beginning of the show. I was like, who doesn't Drew have an active feud with at this point? Because he's actively feuding with Seth Rollins. And he's actively feuding with Damian Priest now about stupid Damian Priest. And they're going to be wrestling each other next week. Yeah. He's got an active feud with CM Punk and now Cody Rhodes.
He has beef with
everybody.
And
not to mention, he's got beef with Sami Zayn because he attacked and injured him.
Right.
And then he's got beef with Jey Uso for thumbing him. I was like,
and the bloodline.
What are you guys doing? Like, do they have a dartboard and they go, all right, who's Drew feuding with this week? And they throw the dart at it and they're like,
it's a wheel.
It's Cody Rhodes.
You just spin the wheel.
I guess. Well, here's my thing: is how are you going to pay this off? Unless in the Royal Rumble they all gang up on him and beat him up and throw him out of the ring. How do you pay this off? Because he's telling every person, this is my Rumble, and it's like, then have them all like go after him in the Rumble at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would probably make sense, but I think with Drew, it kind of real quick before I move on to Drew, I just kind of want to throw in there for Damian Priest. I think the cleanest way, in my personal opinion, and I ain't no professional booker or anything, right? I'm not a creative guy, but if it were up to me, I would say that you do Damian Priest cashes in the Money in the Bank for the Intercontinental title. Let him take it off of Gunther. Let him free up Gunther for a heavyweight title run, because that's how you can get it off of him. You can have all of Judgment Day jump him during a promo, cash it in. No one will suspect it. No one will see it coming. And there's your new Intercontinental champ. Or if they end up losing the tag team titles, he can use it to cash in for the titles, for the tag team titles. I don't think he cashes in for the heavyweight title anymore. I think that ship has sailed, or he's going to have to hang on to it until close to the 1 year mark after Royal Rumble and WrestleMania are over. Maybe at Backlash, he can try and cash in. But I think against whoever's champion at that time, right? Or SummerSlam. SummerSlam would be another. Money in the Bank is after SummerSlam, isn't it?
Yes. I think so. I have to look at the schedule.
Yeah. Well, if it is, right, that's the way I would try and do it. So for now, just leave it be. He can carry it around all he wants, but until Royal Rumble and WrestleMania are done, then worry about it. Because unless you're going to plug him into the main event, unless he cashes in to make the Roman Reigns title defense, whoever Roman Reigns faces, a triple threat. I mean, which is rumored to already be a triple threat soon between Roman, Rock, and Cody. But who knows? I mean,
but I was thinking about this too, though. Is why not at the Royal Rumble after the Fatal 4-Way? If Roman Reigns wins, why not have him cash in then?
Like, because he can't be the one to take it off of Roman. He can't be the one to take it off.
Oh, but
people will riot. People will riot.
Well, that would be awesome.
People will lose their minds.
I would laugh my tail off if that happened. Well, because I'm like, it also makes sense though, because I'm like, it's a Fatal 4-Way, and maybe you have LA Knight or somebody else get the win over, so that Roman stays clean, or you have AJ Styles win it, and then Damian Priest and the Judgment Day come in at the end. And they do the cash in there, so they just take it off of them. And then you do The Rock and Roman Reigns as something separate, like non-title. It's just the head of the table thing.
You do it for the head of the table. Yeah, you do it to be tribal chief.
You just do head of the table, and there's no title on the line at that point. Yeah, and it's just him and Roman Reigns, and you can do that one later.
I mean, I wouldn't.
But the other thing too, the other thing I was going to say though is maybe, and we talked about there's them trying to figure out what to do with these storylines, because you have CM Punk come up, and then you have The Rock come up, and they're going through these storylines. Well, what now with Seth Rollins? Because I've heard, he may have a torn MCL and a partial meniscus tear, and he might be out for like 4 weeks. He may need surgery. They already announced he's going to do an announcement about his future on Raw
on Monday.
So it might be worse. Okay, so what happens then? And this is where I go, okay, now if Seth's completely out of the picture because you got to either vacate the title or do something, now you got to
then have him attack Seth.
You have all these threads dangling. Yeah, just have him do it then. Have him do it there because he's too injured, and it's like, well, I'm cashing in now, and then just take it off of him and then run with it at that point. Because
maybe build it to where
no
Seth
one was
is
expecting that to happen.
Yeah, maybe give it to where like Seth is like building on his speech about to say that he's gonna relinquish. And right before he does, Damian Priest comes in and is like, nah, I'm going to cash in right now. And goes at it.
Yeah.
I mean, but then you have to cut to like Judgment Day, like handcuffing Drew McIntyre to like a truck or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So he doesn't come out.
He's like laying unconscious. They're like beating him with the claymore.
Or they're doing what they did to.
Just cut to the back.
Yeah, put a forklift to just put it on him with a pallet and hold him down.
Yeah.
That's all. But speaking of Drew, my issue with him interrupting Cody, I feel like he kind of gave a copy paste promo as Shinsuke did. Like, oh, we have the same story. Yeah. I too, except he spun it as I too was let go of WWE, and I too had to better myself and come back stronger. And I mean, Cody had the clever ending at the end, right? Saying, well, yeah, I remember the last time we fought, I won. And I was like, yeah, it's true, but that was a different Drew. That was 3-man band Drew. That wasn't Scottish psychopath Drew, who apparently has schizophrenia at this point because he's feuding with like 8 different guys, including himself.
Yeah, that wasn't juiced up Drew McIntyre. We remember how he used to look and how he looks now. So it wasn't yoked Drew McIntyre. No, so it's very different times.
But I just didn't like that they kind of doing the same thing, in terms of like, oh yeah, we have the same story. Yeah. We have the same story. But I get what they're doing at the same time. They're trying to show us as fans like, hey, there's other possibilities for cashing in, or not cashing in, I'm sorry, for the Royal Rumble, for people to win. There's other possibilities. You can have Drew win it. Now it's kind of make it a little bit more fun as far as like the Rumble goes, even though we all still kind of know more or less who's going to win the Rumble. But I mean, it helps, it helps to kind of make it a little more fun, get you excited for the Rumble. My favorite thing, actually, R-Truth, best thing on Raw, because he is just comical and amazing in the way he does things. The Tom and Nick Mysterio was hilarious, and the fact that he actually they made shirts. I don't know if you've seen them on WWE Shop. There's a shirt. It says Tom and Nick Mysterio. He's actually.
I haven't seen that.
And you know what the funny part is? This is how you can tell R-Truth is getting over better than JD McDonough ever has. So JD McDonough, remember when he tried to join Judgment Day? They had the shirt that says, what it says is Damien and Rhea and like that one that does the ands, and then he had put duct tape and he had put JD, and that was that. R-Truth did the same thing, and now they made the shirt that says with the duct tape that says and R-Truth. So like that tells you he's doing something right, and that shirt outsold John Cena. He's actually passed John Cena as the top selling gear. Yeah, he's actually past John Cena now,
awesome.
which is awesome. Like Truth. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna end this, but I think they're planting the seeds for a possible split, I guess, but not even close. I think they just take
Yeah,
him
well,
in.
because
I
Damien's
just think
kind of warming up
power
to him, and
struggling with
everybody
Rhea.
else isn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and,
So
and I had this. That was my best moment of Raw. Actually, was everything with R-Truth. So,
yeah. Oh, I love everything with him.
so you and I agree on this because I was like everything with R-Truth, from the backstage promos to all the in-ring shenanigans during the match. The R-Truth and the Judgment Day graphic when they flashed it up,
The hood,
and it was him, and it was him with the "Live, Laugh, Love." Yeah, he's smiling with the "Live, Laugh, Love" sign. I was like, everything about it was like great. Like, of course, you mentioned the bit with the cash in the ring before the match started.
Trying to give it to
giving
Finn.
them their cut, and then he's like, "I'm not going to cut in JD. He's not even part of the Judgment Day anymore." Like everything about it just makes me happy, and I hope it lasts for as long as it lasts, because I am enjoying the heck out of it. So that was all of my best moments were Raw were R-Truth related.
I agree. It's just he's so good. I mean, he's so good at the way he does it, and I'm glad to see him get that break. You know, he's come a long way from being, what was he before? He was K-Quick back in the day, but I mean, he was a good wrestler. Yeah, he was a good wrestler too. Ron Killings, K-Quick, and he's a great in-ring worker. I think he's very underestimated in his abilities. I think he's great, and I'm happy to see that happen. And who knows? Even when he had the 24/7 title, I think that title was garbage until they put it on R-Truth. And then he would just go back and forth with Tozawa. I thought that was hilarious, but it was great. But I mean, the only one that keeps up to him, but it's starting to wear out, is Akira Tozawa. But I just think that Truth just sends it over the moon. I think it's awesome.
Well, R-Truth, it flows more naturally out of him.
Yeah, it does.
Like he has this kind of gullible sincerity to him that you can't help but love it. Like Tozawa just seems like a wacky character from like the '90s Attitude Era.
Yeah, that's like old school comedy.
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah. It's like what was it, Yoshi and I'm trying to think of that tag team.
With the blue and white stripes.
Yeah, the blue and white stripes. I think it was Tanaka and Yoshi or something like that.
Yeah, it was Tanaka and Yoshi. They were called. I just seen a Rumble. I was just watching the Rumble, where they kept interfering in the Rumble for some reason.
I was like
Tensai. No, not Tensai.
Very much in the same. No, it's that's gonna drive me crazy. Oh man, yeah, it's on the tip of my tongue. But you know what I mean. Like I'm getting that. I get that. I get that vibe from them, or from Kai and Tai. I get that. I get a Kai and Tai vibe from him every time I see him, and I'm like, and it's even his ring gears kind of Alpha Academy's ring gears kind of similar to the blue.
Yeah, it is.
So
Alpha Academy has a lot of potential. Well, I know that's SmackDown, but I'm just saying, like, Alpha Academy has a lot of potential too. But that is wrong.
They do.
That is wrong. They do have a lot of potential, but I think they're just sticking to the comic stuff for now with Ivar. They're giving Ivar a lot of attention. Letting him just squash people. So who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's pretty much Raw in a nutshell.
We talked about the best moments. Worst moment I wanted to throw out there, because I already mentioned Damian Priest cash in, so we already talked about that. One thing and then the Seth Rollins injury, I think, is like the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
turns
because
out
now you're risking a lot right
now. Honorable mention for worst moments was Becky Lynch's in-ring promo with Rhea Ripley. And so this is where I was like, I would feel lost if I didn't just throw this out there.
Yeah.
So Becky Lynch comes out to trash talk Rhea Ripley, which again is like, okay, we're doing this each week where somebody else comes out and trash talks somebody else. So it was Nia Jax and Becky Lynch, and then Nia Jax and Rhea Ripley, and now it's Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. Mm-hmm. And Becky Lynch did her, I think you might be better than me, but I need to prove you're not. And I was like, Becky, what the heck's going on here? Like, this is now 2 weeks in a row where you've been like, no confidence, Becky. I don't know if I'm any good. I guess I better try to figure it out. I guess me not going to the hospital is an improvement. I don't like this version of Becky Lynch. So I'm hoping she snaps out of it at the Rumble. Yeah. But this has now been like 2 weeks in a row of bizarre kind of self-deprecating promos from Becky Lynch. And I don't know where they're going with it. It makes her look weak. And I was like,
it really does.
I could have totally done without that.
I'm not a huge fan of it just because of the fact that you went from like Becky 2 belts to now like, hey, Nia beat me clean, but I still deserve a shot. So I'm gonna win the Rumble. You do know Nia's in the Rumble and you couldn't beat her. So I mean,
she'll have help this time,
I suppose, because I think all of that women's locker room hates Nia anyway. So, but I feel Nia's gonna be the one to win it. I have a feeling.
I know you said I'm still going with Jade. Jade makes her debut, flexes on everybody, but we'll see. We'll see. That's a conversation for another time.
Maybe CM Punk negotiated nicely for AJ for her return.
It's entirely possible. And then they're both standing tall at the end of the event. I have a worst case scenario. Please don't do that, WWE. Yeah, but we'll see. But yeah, that was Raw. SmackDown. SmackDown was kind of, the same thing that we've seen the last few weeks. It was there. It was good. I mean, it was just kind of cut and paste almost. We started off with, again, contract signing. Fatal 4-way opponents. Roman Reigns doesn't show up at the beginning for the contract signing. He's like, I'll sign it later. And we'll get back to that later. Then after that was a 6-man tag. Santos Escobar, Angel, and Humberto defeated the LWO in a 6-man tag. More on that to come as well. And then we saw Pete Dunne. Yes, that's right. Pete Dunne, not Butch. Just as Big D called it. I got to throw that out there because if you go back and look on the recaps from a few weeks ago, you would call correctly, Big D, that Pete Dunne was going to revert back to being Pete Dunne again. And he did, and he and Tyler Bate defeated Pretty Deadly again. Like it was, I don't know that we needed to run this one back because it was a lot of more Pete Dunne-esque, as you put it. Pete Dunne-esque, I believe, was the term that you coined as the bruiserweight. It was nice to see. That was one of my favorite moments, was seeing Pete Dunne be Pete Dunne again. And then next up was Logan Paul joining Kevin Owens on the KO show. Skip. Next up after that was the women's tag champs. Kaden and Katana defeated Isla Dawn and Alba Pyre. And they were calling themselves the Unholy Union, I think is what they were going with. Unholy Union is their tag team name. Damage Control was ringside for some reason, with Bayley on commentary for some reason, just to kind of be like, hey, we're here to watch. And that was that, but women, I guess so. Well, talk trash about Michael Cole, right?
Yeah.
She's like, the whole time, like talking trash about how Michael Cole was like an idiot, which it was fine. It was just like, okay, this is odd. Of course, champs retain. After that, LA Knight took on AJ Styles in like a grudge match, I guess, because they were sick of each other. 1-on-1, which quickly ended in a no contest as Solo Sikoa interfered. Jimmy came down and kind of distracted, and then Samoa spiked both of them. And Justin, it's like did it just in time and did the whole 2 down, 1 to go, because he was in the main event against Randy Orton. Randy Orton, of course, picked up the win on that one. It ended with LA Knight, Styles, and Orton in the ring, all attacking each other. Orton hit the RKO on both Styles and Knight. And then Roman Reigns finally came out of nowhere. Superman punched Randy Orton, grabbed the contract, signed it. Everything signed, sealed, delivered, and ready to go for the Rumble. And then he was going to stalk Randy Orton with a spear, went for it, got caught in the RKO, of course, because of course he did. So Randy Orton was the one standing tall with still one more show to go. So I always have to watch carefully, like who's standing tall at the go-home show for Royal Rumble. Randy Orton was standing tall this week. We'll see what happens next week. And that was as the show closed up. Other notes, there was a video package with Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits calling out the Final Testament. So I guess they'll be doing something next week. And then Carmelo Hayes and Austin Theory set up a rematch. Looks like both of them were okay, so that was great to hear. They had that scary moment where they both kind of landed on their heads from the Spanish Fly that didn't go right. And they're going to rematch next week. So that was the SmackDown rundown. My match of the night was the 6-man tag match. So I'll just jump right into that because I know you had talked about we want to see more Lucha Libre style matches. You mentioned this last week. WWE, you came through, so thank you so much for that. This one was great. It was a ton of fun. I felt like it was more of a showcase for the two tag teams that were in there. I think Santos Escobar didn't have a ton to do. Carlito didn't have a ton to do either. Mm-hmm. It was mostly a showcase for Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro. But they were all great. This one was awesome, fast paced. The one knock, Big D, and I know you know what it is. My one gripe is that it ended with a surprise roll.
Yes,
and I was I was kind of like, as soon as I saw it happening, it was like a car crash, and I was like, no, this is how it's going to end. So Santos Escobar picks up the win on a surprise roll up. Wah wah. Of course, it was going to happen. I was kind of okay with it the way that it happened, because it was like things were falling apart, and there was a quick transition, and he did it, and they're the heels, so I was as okay as I'm going to possibly be with the surprise roll-up ending. But I love this one. It was great.
I do too. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. My gripe was the surprise roll-up. I hate the surprise roll-up. However, if done by a heel, I'm okay with it, because heels will do heel things, and I'm okay with that. I think this was a great way to showcase, two underutilized tag teams, right? I think that these two teams could be very well showcased in future matches, especially going for tag titles. Like, I think we need to see more of this, and I appreciate that we saw it, and I'm happy that it happened. My actual gripe about this was it's hard to get behind the new LWO if they keep losing. They just keep losing. And I know now Rey Mysterio is not there anymore for them, and now it's kind of Carlito kind of took over, and that's cool and everything, pun intended. But I think but I think that, they should get some matches over, because when I recall, when Eddie Guerrero took over, when created the LWO, they tore through. They made a name in the cruiserweight division and tag team and stuff, so they did well. And so I'm not sure why this keeps happening. It's Legado del Fantasma 2.0, which is fine, because it's Angel and Humberto, two guys which I enjoy seeing as well. But I feel like LWO needs to get some W's in there for them. Maybe 2024 has a better opportunity for them. And but no, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed this match. I agree, this was my match of the night as well, and I think it was a good showcase for Lucha Libre. Makes me proud, I love it, and so I was happy to see it. So definitely happy.
Yeah, it was a good one. I agree that at some point you gotta the LWO needs more W's, so that'll help with their credibility. But at least they're losing in style when they lose, because they look great doing it, but. They did. Gotta win occasionally. Yeah. I didn't have any bad matches. I didn't have any dud of the night for SmackDown. I thought all the matches were pretty solid. Best moment for me, couple, was Butch reverting back to Pete Dunne. So the return of Pete Dunne, that was a nice moment. And I know you had talked last week about when Tyler Bate came out and nobody knew who he was, and it was like the silence and the crickets. They got a much better reaction this week, because there was the familiarity of the match. The crowd was really into it. Pete Dunne picked up the win, and the crowd was very much into it when that happened. Yes. So that was a really nice moment to see. The other best moment that I had was Solo Sikoa. And so what I mean by that is this has now been 2 weeks in a row where Solo has been a main part of the storytelling as the enforcer, and yet he has seemed to be a formidable challenge for all the heavy hitters that are in the main event. So, and I think you have to be careful with that with certain people. Like, I wouldn't expect, hey, Jimmy's going to go out here and beat everybody. Like, Jimmy Uso is going to go out here and really be a threat to these guys. Yeah. Solo does it in kind of this very quiet and unassuming way. He doesn't seem like he's putting it on like a fake tough guy thing. He's just like quiet, and he's like, I'll take care of it. I'll handle it. Don't worry about it. And then he does things that make sense. He does like heel things that make sense, and he ambushes people from behind. Like, it made perfect sense the week before when he like ran out in the ramp, took out Randy Orton. He's like, all right, now it's just a tag match now. We got to worry about that. Yeah. And then this one was the same way. Hey, these two are fighting each other. it was a short match between LA Knight and AJ Styles, and Solo goes out there and gets them both, and he's like, all right, took him out, let's go. And for me, it gave him a lot of credibility, and it makes him feel like, hey, he really is a threat to like Randy Orton and LA Knight and AJ Styles. And he doesn't just seem like he's a B-list guy that they have him out there as cannon fodder. So I like this a lot. And for me, it's actually given him, in my eyes at least, I'm like, hey, he's got a lot more credibility. Like, I feel like he's stepping up as one of those like main event players, and it feels organic and it feels legitimate and it feels real. So I've loved what they've done with him over the last few weeks. So that was a bright spot for me.
You know what? I can see that. And I like the way that, I like the added touch of like after he took out LA Knight, AJ Styles, after all that was done, he gets into the ring and he's like, I'm not waiting. Randy Orton, let's go. Like, you're next.
Yeah,
come on.
Get out. Let's go.
I like that. And I appreciate that. Because in NXT, that's how they built him. He was the street fighter. Like, he was, you know, he is the muscle. That's his role in Bloodline. That's his role. And that's what he should be doing. So I like that. He doesn't need to talk. He doesn't need to like go on banters and just go back and forth. He doesn't need any of that. He's the tough guy. He goes out there, handles business, knocks people out, and moves on. And I kind of see it almost like Umaga is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Umaga never really talked too much. And he just went out there and just decimated people. So I could see like a second coming of his uncle, really, Umaga, because he is Jimmy and Jay's brother. So that is their uncle. Yeah. So, you know, that's a great way. That's nothing wrong with that. You know, we lost Umaga way too soon, and I loved seeing him, you know, and I think he was champion at one point. So I can see that. And so they're starting to plant the seeds of, you know, the rift between the bloodline now. They can't seem to get stuff together. And maybe once Roman drops that title, it happens, right? And now he has to kind of fend for himself, or maybe they do kind of still kind of stick together because they're family and whatnot. But I mean, who knows? But my biggest highlight of the night for me was Pete Dunne. I love Pete Dunne. And then not only do you bring him back at full bruiserweight mode. Like, he's in there destroying limbs. He's breaking fingers. He's, you know, he's Pete Dunne, like the bruiserweight, the one that I liked at NXT UK, the NXT UK champion. That's who I saw. And it was awesome to see. Again, I'm happy to see Tyler Bate in WWE in the big show, the big lights. You know, I love seeing that because I'm a huge fan of them. To me, it's just, we're just missing Trent Seven to unite Mustache Mountain, and I'll be even happier. But that's okay. It's just me nitpicking. My only gripe is they didn't keep his original music. They gave him some newer, okay-ish music. I feel like that the original music, when that thing hits, it goes dun, and it echoes, and then dun, 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 like that was awesome. But now it's like okay. But it might grow on me. I'm happy to have Pete Dunne. I'm good. I'll take my win. And I'll go home happy with that. But it was very good to see
just
full-fledged. Yeah, it's full-fledged. It's good to see full-fledged Pete Dunne in there. And I would love to see him in the Rumble, just breaking fingers throughout the whole thing. Just everybody that comes at him, like just tearing into him. You know, I mean, of course, it'll be one of those spots where he just comes in like a madman and just starts like breaking fingers, biting people, like, you know, like he normally does. And I thought that, I don't know, I'm excited. I'm super excited. But yeah, that was good. That was probably my highlight. I had it right here in all caps. P Dunne is back with exclamation marks. I love it. But yeah, I like what they're doing with Solo too. I agree with you in that part. I think they're building him just right, and I think this is all Triple H is doing. I think Triple H is booking these matches much better, letting people. I think Vince was more of like you get one shot, the crowd doesn't like you, then you're done. We would have not seen Tyler Bate again after the last match, right? Because he didn't get a pop. But now look it. He comes out again. Now you get a better reaction. People now know who he is, and the more he wrestles is going to be even better because he's a great competitor. He does a lot of old school wrestling moves, which like the airplane spin. It's classic airplane spin. Where and I mean, people don't understand, like that man got quads.
He's a powerful dude. Yeah.
And he's strong. He can squat these dudes, and it's cool, right? It's fun. It's fun. That's how it should be. And I love it. So, but yeah, I agree. What about your low points?
Yeah, it's the British strong style. Because they keep saying now it's British strong style, British strong style. And
that used to be their tag name for a while.
Yeah, well, I think, and I'd seen somewhere they put British Strong Style wins. I was like, Strong Style. I'm like, they didn't actually announce him as that, but
No.
I think they're just kind of playing into this is
Who they
what they've
used to
been
be.
historically.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say, and you talked about like Triple H, I think being good about the building. And I think it's the difference I see in SmackDown and Raw though, is that SmackDown has more of those slow build things.
Yeah.
Like they did the Pete Dunne thing of he's having the identity crisis and he goes back to being Pete Dunne, the Tyler Bates, and that's played out over the course of weeks and weeks, and it's been nice to watch. I think we've seen that evolution of Solo coming along, and that's been nice to watch. And then you have like on Raw though, it's just random stuff happening. So
Well,
it's like
to their
here's
credit,
a random feud. Here's a random
right.
feud.
To their credit, they kind of started. We saw a glimmer of that with Shinsuke. That was a small glimmer. So
it was.
It's there.
So it's there, but I'm
possible.
like, there's more just random. And speaking of random, they already teased Monday night. Now it's going to be Cody Rhodes and CM Punk jawing at each other. And I'm like, I know you guys are all like, they're all in the Rumble, but we don't need to see an in-ring promo of them all yelling at each other before the Rumble. Like, we know they don't like each other, and we know they're going to be everyone's trying to win. So I don't know that we need more of that filler. And CM Punk did exactly what we said he was going to do. He's just cutting in-ring promos until the Royal Rumble the whole time, which, again, if you were going to do that, just debut him at the Rumble. Have him be a surprise. We don't need him to come out and talk on the microphone for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. My worst moment for SmackDown was everything with Logan Paul. And I'll keep it brief. Just because it was like the best thing on Raw was everything with R-Truth. The worst thing on SmackDown, everything with Logan Paul. And it was just like, well, Paul generates a lot of heat, obviously.
Yeah, he does.
You go out there and the crowd yells at him. But I feel like that this is more heat on the human being versus heat on his character work.
Right.
This is what I don't like about it. It's like, I think people genuinely go, hey, we don't like you as a person. Yeah. And not like, hey, it's not like you're Kurt Angle getting heat because you're a good heel. And you're being smarmy, and you're being like, a silly wuss, and doing all the stuff that Kurt Angle would do, and he actually generated heat. People genuinely dislike Logan Paul just because of who he is as a human being. Yeah. And so that's why he gets heat. So I almost look at it as like it's cheap. It's like a cheap heat from him.
Yeah.
But they go, oh, it plays well because the crowd hates him. But I felt like the whole promo between the two of them, they both kind of stammered through it at one point. Even Kevin Owens kind of stammered a couple of times where he got a little tongue-tied. And it just felt like, hey, if you guys' heart's not in it, our heart's not going to be in it either. And they tried to play it more off of the historical significance of, you gave me a stunner 3 years ago, and that's why I hate you, KO. And I was like, and he's like, I've stunned so many people. And I'm like, well, you haven't had the stunner that long. So he's like, I've been doing this for 26 years. I've stunned a lot of people. I'm like, yeah, I've been stunning them for 26 years. Let's get that straight. Yeah. But for me, this was kind of weak. The pulling the cast off the hand that's clearly not injured because there's no bruising on his arm. Yeah. Like, there's nothing. He's like, I got a broken arm. And it's like, there's no injury at all. And he forgets to clutch it. Like, he's like the kid that faked an injury at school. And then they keep using their hand. You're like, hey, you okay? Like, oh, no, I'm actually hurt. Yeah. Because you catch KO like punching with it and doing all that. And then he was like, and grabs his arm. So this kind of bit has played itself out for me. And I can't wait until they decide whatever the heck they're going to do with it at the Royal Rumble. Unless surprise, Damian Priest cashes in and becomes the U.S. champion.
Oh, well. I'll take it.
Or fails to cash in, and he walks out, and then Drew McIntyre runs out and kicks him in the head. I don't know. I can't wait for this one to be over.
I agree. I don't like the Logan Paul stuff. I feel it's being dragged out. I feel that they need to just get the belt off of him, and let's put Kevin Owens in a more believable storyline. There's so much talent out there he can feud with. I could see him going up against Carlito. Honestly, I think that'd be great. I'd love to see him again against Santos Escobar. I think that'd be awesome to see. Hell, I would love to see him and LA Knight go at it on the mic back and forth. That would be awesome. So again, it's just so much that we can see there. As far as my I did kind of want to add a little piece here. I noticed that at the end of the women's tag team match, you had the Kabuki Warriors come up and hand them the party team their titles, right? And so I'm like, hey, if anyone's going to beat them for the titles, I cannot see Kaden Carter and Katana Chance beating the Kabuki Warriors. There's no way.
But they're defending next week, right?
Yeah, there's no way they keep those titles. Like, I mean, okay, they probably will because TV, but
yeah,
on
but
paper,
they shouldn't.
On paper, that should be the Kabuki Warriors. I feel just with no interference needed. I mean, they're just a dominating tag team of their own. They've been tag team champs before. It's just, I would love to see that, but I feel like we're not going to get that, and that's what kind of makes it a low point for me because it's like you're teasing that. You're teasing it, and it's not going to happen as much as I want it to. I would love to see Asuka and Kairi Sane take those titles.
Or will it?
I hope so.
That's what I said. When I saw them book it, I was like, huh. And then I thought back to, okay, what's Bayley been talking about this whole time? Bayley's been saying her master plan is that we've got the women's championship. We are going to get the women's tag team championships, and then I'm going to win the Royal Rumble, and I'm going to get Rhea Ripley's title.
Yeah.
Like that's Bayley's master plan. So what if right before the Rumble they win, and they've got then going into the Rumble, it's the all right, everybody, we're almost done with the master plan. Now I just have to win the Rumble, and I have to become the women's champion. And then that's where you see them turn on her during the Women's Rumble because they're like, okay, yeah, we don't care about you. We got what we wanted. Yeah. So I was like, I'm wondering if they're going to do something like that.
I would love that.
I think it'd be neat. I would love it. I think it would make perfect sense. And to your point, I'm like, I really don't buy Kaden and Katana beating the Kabuki Warriors at this point. Like, they're too good. So, and they shouldn't need shenanigans for it. I hope they don't do what they've kind of been running through all of these nameless tag teams at this point because they wrestle like they compete like every week and they've already defended like 3 times, which is funny because Bayley's like, have they ever defended before? And I'm like, yes, they gave a rematch to the champions and they had a match before that, so it's like this is like their 3rd title defense. But I just feel like it'd be too fast for them to take the titles off of them, but they really should, or just not do this right now.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what makes it difficult, right? Because that's why the part of me says that they're not going to do it. And I'm kind of like, I want them to. But time will tell.
Yeah.
Time
will tell. It will tell.
But fun game to play if you're bored at home.
For SmackDown.
Yeah. Fun game to play when you're bored at home on Raw next week or this Monday. Get a bottle, get a shot glass. Every time CM Punk or Cody Rhodes mention AEW, take a shot. You'll be hammered.
Take a shot.
Everything's over because that's all they have to talk about.
10 minutes, because that'll be like a 20-minute promo, so you will be completely hammered by the time they get.
They're gonna throw in so many AEW references, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they certainly will, and that's what we got for this week. Looking forward to next week. It's the go home shows right before the Rumble, so. Looking forward to it. Exciting times. And then we got the Royal Rumble coming up. So that's our show for today. We appreciate you all tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please leave comments if you agree with us or disagree with us or just want to talk about the weather. You can put that in there too. We don't really watch those that closely. So
I know, I'm like,
comments if it's a nice day.
It's 46 right now. But that's all I can say.
It's 46 degrees. I know there's snowstorms in most of the country there this week. Hopefully everyone's doing all right. Yeah. But we appreciate y'all taking the time. And until next time, we will see you all soon.